This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Welcome to another episode of Paragon's Favorite Stuff. In this show, I tell you about all of the things that I've found most useful in my 27 years of living aboard sailboats and voyaging all over the Atlantic. Thank you for all of the great comments you made in our last video about how we do laundry on the boat. In case you missed that one, then click on the link right here to get caught up. Today, I'm going to show you all of the cabin lights that we've used on Paragon for the past 14 years. In the next few videos, I'm going to show you all of the ways that we light the inside of our boat. In today's part 1 video, I'm going to start by showing you all of the cabin lights that we've now been using for over a decade. When I bought my Westsail 42 sailboat back in 2007, one of the first renovations I did was to upgrade all of the boat's cabin lights to these new overhead lights made by a company called Alpenglow. I chose Alpenglow lights because they're made of beautiful handcrafted wooden frames, have a very nice prismatic lens, and have some cool features like low and high power modes and a night vision mode. Again, we've used our Alpenglow lights year-round for the past 14 years, and they have always looked and worked absolutely great. All 19 of them. Let me show them to you. We'll start in the bow and we'll go to the stern. In this little room up here, we have the forward head and the washing machine and the shower and a sink and a bunch of storage. And on the starboard side on the ceiling there, we have one Alpenglow overhead light directly over the washing machine, and then another on the port side directly over the counter and sink. Right now, this light is set to the brightest high power mode. It's really, really bright. It's more than bright enough to illuminate this whole room, no problem. And with this toggle switch here, you can set it to the less bright, lower power mode, or turn it off. And then with the smaller toggle switch, you can set it to the bright red night vision mode, or the lower power red night vision mode. I really love the night vision mode, especially when we're sailing offshore. They really do make it easier to keep your night vision, which is especially important when you're sailing at night, when you need to be able to see everything in the cockpit as well as keep a constant lookout on the water. And I kind of like how when you have the night vision lights on, the boat feels like a submarine. We also installed an Alpenglow light up here in the sail locker. In addition to our spare sails, this locker is crammed with all kinds of stuff that I use on a regular basis. And since there are no ports in this locker to let light in, I use this Alpenglow overhead light every time I need to get anything out of here. Another cool thing about these lights is that you don't have to look closely at where the light is to turn it on, because your hand gets used to what it feels like with the larger switch for the white light and the smaller switch for the red light. Because of this, I bet I could easily go through the whole boat and turn all the lights on, even if I was blindfolded. And next, here in the salon, we've got these two Alpenglow lights. They are more than bright enough to light up the entire salon. And then over here on the port side of the salon, we've got this Alpenglow LED reading lamp. I like this light for when I'm just sitting here in the salon and reading a good book. This light has a beautiful warm white color and this knob here for adjusting the brightness, which is really kind of cool. Unfortunately, Alpenglow has discontinued this light, but I have seen some very similar looking lights on various marine chandlery websites. And then right here on the port side at the dinette table, we've got this one Alpenglow overhead light, which is more than bright enough for lighting up the table for chart work or anything else. And then here on the starboard side, opposite the dinette table in the galley, we've got another Alpenglow overhead light right here over the sink. and another one right here over the refrigerator, and then another one right here over this counter, as well as another one of those reading lamps. Again, all of the Alpenglow overhead lights also have the red night vision mode. So if you're on watch in the middle of the night and you want to come down to the galley to get something, or sit at the dinette table to look at the chart, then you can do this with the red night vision lights without destroying your night vision. Also, if you have crew who are in the salon off watch and sleeping, then you're much less likely to disturb them with the red lights than you would with the bright white lights. These two particular lights right here, this overhead light right here and this reading lamp right here, make it much easier to see what's in our condiment locker. They also come in really handy for when we're using this counter for things like kneading dough or cutting vegetables. We also dry our dishes on this counter, and they make it much easier to see what's in our galley drawers right here. And now, moving on to the passageway going to the aft cabin. In here, I've got this wonderful little light velcroed to the ceiling, where it's also plugged into this USB cable that's always charging its built-in battery. This light isn't made by Alpenglow. It's made by a company called Aperture, and it's actually designed to be used for lighting for professional video and photography. I bought this light because I wanted to use it for lighting for my YouTube videos, but then I discovered that it worked just perfectly right here in the passageway. I like this light because it's really, really bright, because it more than adequately lights up this dark area of the boat where I keep all of my filming gear, and especially because I can always detach it. Because it's always charging, it's always ready to go. And I can then take it to look in this enormous locker down here. So down here in this locker, we've got a whole bunch of these 1-gallon containers storing things like pastas, nuts, beans, and things like that. And it's really dark down here, so having this light makes it much easier to find what you're looking for. Or sometimes when we're underway, I like to grab this light so that I can do a quick check of the oil pan in the engine room. Let's take a quick look. Just to do a visual inspection of the oil pan. As you can see, there is no oil in the oil pan. It is nice and clean. All is well. And now we can move on to the aft cabin. Welcome to my bedroom. We have one Alpenglow light right here over the starboard side of the double berth, and then another light right here over the port side of the double berth. These lights come in really handy when we get clothes. We store our clothes in these boxes, and so the light makes it easier to find what's in there. We also have another Alpenglow light right here over the sink and counter. And moving on through this door, we have another one of those reading lamps in this little room that has the aft head. And this room actually gets a lot of use because we keep all of our foul weather gear and jackets hung up right here, and also because in this locker I keep a lot of my tools and supplies that I use for various projects working on the boat. So light makes it easier when I grab a box and gotta grab whatever. Makes it easier to see what I'm doing. And that's that. Next, we will move into the engine room where we have some of the most important lights on the boat. But first, let's say thank you to our wonderful sponsor for this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that has thousands of classes on a huge variety of topics. If there's a particular skill that you want to learn, then you'll probably find a class on it at Skillshare. Most of the classes are under 60 minutes long. Every class has a discussion forum where you can converse with other members, and a project where you can submit your work for feedback. I just took another fantastic class called Color Grading for Filmmaking, the Vision, Art, and Science. The class was created by one of my favorite Skillshare teachers, filmmaker Dan Liu. In the class, Dan Liu teaches her creative and streamlined process for color grading video footage. I've always wanted to make my videos look better through color grading and found this class really enlightening and well worth it. I learned new concepts and techniques for adjusting color to enhance the feel and realism of video. I definitely plan to rewatch this class from time to time as I continue to improve this skill. The first 1,000 people to use our link in the video description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. What new skill would you like to learn? Click on the link in the video description and start your free trial today. Okay, let's go into the engine room. The lights are off, so we'll start by turning on this one on the port side, which is directly above this custom toolbox that I made for most of my tools. And then up here, I've got this one directly above this little counter that I made, which is on top of this diesel boiler that heats the boat and makes hot water for showers. Then over here, we've got this one, which is right above our fuel filters for the engine. We've also got this electric pump for bleeding the engine, and the manifold is right here for choosing which of the 3 fuel tanks the engine's running off of. And then up here we have this one, which is directly above the engine itself. And those are the lights in the engine room. I think these lights in the engine room are really important because there are so many situations where it is just critical that your engine runs. And for example, if you're in a storm offshore and you need your engine and something goes wrong and it won't start, then the last thing you want to worry about is having enough light to work while you're in here trying to get the engine to start. And finally, we have these 2 Alpenglow lights here in the cockpit. I can turn them on from the companionway without getting out into the cockpit if I want to, and they're just great to have out here in the cockpit. They're great for when people come over and stay late and then leave the boat at night. Easier for them to get their shoes on and get ready to go off the boat. And they're really handy when we're offshore. Switch them to the red night vision mode. Then we can see what we're doing here in the cockpit, keeping our night vision so we can see what's going on around us. These lights are great. Unlike all the other Alpenglow lights that we have inside the boat, these 2 Alpenglow lights that we have in the cockpit are the more expensive splash-proof versions. They have sealed toggle switches to turn the lights on, and they have sealant applied everywhere where water could get into the fixture. I thought they'd be much better to have out here in the cockpit where they're much more exposed to the elements. All of the Alpenglow lights that I just showed you have worked great on our boat for the past 14 years, and we're really happy with them. However, there have been some fantastic advancements in lighting technology since we bought them. In 2007, when I bought all of my Alpenglow overhead lights, almost all of the marine cabin lights that you could buy either had an incandescent or fluorescent bulb. Back then, LED lighting wasn't widely used for cabin lighting on boats, and while there were some LED lights available, I think most of them either weren't bright enough or had a stark bluish color that looked awful. Here's one of my Alpenglow lights that I bought as a spare. If we remove the screws on the back, then we can open it up to see the bulbs. You can see that Alpenglow used a fluorescent bulb for the white light and red LEDs for the night vision. These fluorescent bulbs are available from different companies with varying degrees of quality. The ones that I use are made by Sylvania and are rated to work for about 10,000 hours before needing replacement. As you've seen, they have a very nice warm white color and are pretty bright. We carry a whole bunch of spare ones, and over the years I've had to change out a few of them. Today, Alpenglow sells the exact same light fixture, but they've upgraded the inside by replacing the fluorescent bulb with LEDs. I've read on their website that their new white LED light versions are brighter, use less power, and are rated to work for 50,000 hours, which is a big improvement from the 10,000 hours of the fluorescent bulbs. I also saw on their website that Alpenglow now also sells a larger and a smaller version of their overhead light, and that the handcrafted wooden frames are available in different woods like teak, mahogany, oak, and cherry. Alpenglow also sells an upgrade kit that lets you convert the older fluorescent bulb model to the new model that uses the LEDs. Someday I might upgrade our Alpenglow overhead lights to the LED versions, but for now I'll just stick with our good old fluorescent ones. If you'd like more information about Alpenglow lights, then check out the link we've included in the video description. And be sure to stay tuned for our part 2 on lighting, where we'll go over all the other types of lights that we use on the boat. If you enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to click like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.